Breaking news here on CBS Sports HQ. Antonio Brown is putting the helmet issue behind him. He tweets that he's not going to retire. He can't wait to rejoin his Oakland Raider teammates after an independent arbitrator made a decision today to go with the NFL and not allow him to use the old helmet. He tweeted, "While I disagree with the arbitrator's decision, I'm working on getting back to full health and looking forward to rejoining my teammates on the field. I'm excited about this season. Appreciate all the concerns about my feet. Hashtag always a fight. Hashtag represent. Hashtag it's bigger than me." We've got Jamie Eisenberg to hit the fantasy angles. We've got Bryant McFadden coming to us from Jacksonville side of Jaguars camp to hit this from a player perspective. B-Mac, I'm going to start with you on this one. You said that you would take your first shot of alcohol if Antonio Brown decided to call it quits based on the helmet. You can go alcohol-free. Nothing for you, buddy boy.
No question, because I felt like, the hoopla we received from on Friday was just basically a player that was extremely emotional, that he wasn't getting what he wanted to get as far as being able to wear the helmet that he wanted to wear. And clearly saying I'm going to walk away from the game was an emotional statement from Antonio Brown. This is a guy that loves the game of football. And most importantly, outside of football, he loves his legacy. He wants to go down as one of the greatest wide receivers to ever play the game. And I believe he will continue to do so. But what he did because he's a superstar player. But now we can move on from this helmet gate story and now get right back into preseason mode, talking about some of the preseason ball games and some of the rookies. But yes, I never believed he would actually walk away from the game of football because of a helmet, because that would put a big time blemish on his legacy.
Jamie, I don't know if he could walk away based on the condition of his feet.
Very, very true. And I think the concern is not only is when is he going to be healthy, and he's still talking about it clearly, so it's a problem. But you also have to factor in, and I hope B-Mac is right, he's concerned about his legacy, and obviously the money is a big factor in this. But at what point does he say, I'm done with potentially losing? He's never gone through a stretch like that, like last year, with the team failing to miss the playoffs. Does he get fed up with John Gruden and his coaching style because he's had a very player-friendly coach in Mike Tomlin? Does he get fed up with the poor quarterback play with Derek Carr because he's been with the Hall of Famer? There are some things that really make me nervous about this guy, and I think you heard in the offseason, before the trade happened, he said he was comfortable walking away from the game. So I hope, again, what B-Mac said is accurate, that he's going to stay in this for the long haul for the 2019 season, hopefully make it to Las Vegas. But fantasy-wise, I'm nervous. I'm looking at a guy right now that when you start to stack him up to the guys that are being drafted, and he's really 10 through 15 at this point. I think that's the safe spot for him.
For
wide receivers, not overall anymore.
Last year, he would have been 10 to 15 overall.
Last 4 or 5 years, he's 10 to 15 overall. In some cases, you make an argument he's number 1 overall. But the quarterback downgrade, the situation downgrade, the injury now that you have to worry about. Last year, we saw yards per catch come way down. He was saved by 15 touchdowns, and he was still amazing. Don't get me wrong. But the touchdowns is what saved him. Will he be double-digit touchdowns? I highly doubt that's the case. So when you look at him and you start to compare him to Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs, Julian Edelman, Robert Woods, Brandon Cooks, you see it's on par. And while his name and his history says better, by far, destroys those guys, it's the 2019 Antonio Brown you have to value and evaluate. And he makes me nervous. He's the number 2 wide receiver, somebody I'm not taking until round 3.
Right.
Hey, good point. Good point, Jamie. Just talking about the fantasy ramifications when it comes to Antonio Brown, but you mentioned something that really opened my eyes. Antonio has always been a part of a winning team, a winning organization. He's never been a part of uncertainty as far as team outlook, the outcome, winning record versus losing record. And this is a team in the Oakland Raiders. I believe, yes, they've gotten better, but who's to say by the month of November, their playoff hopes are down the drain? Now, potentially, you could get a guy that could mentally check out because he's never been a part of an organization that hasn't been considered to be a serious playoff contender. Everything you talked about, Jamie, that's why I love working with you, Jamie. Oh, you too, Chris. Both you guys are extremely intelligent and know the game of football well, right? But Jamie talked about everything that he has in Oakland pretty much is a downgrade. Yes, it is. Quarterback, coach, overall team, even the stadium. Everything in Oakland is a downgrade compared to where he's coming from. So what happens if this team is 1-4, 2-6, 2-5. Where will Antonio be mentally as far as still being involved?
And you have a guy that, look, he was the best receiver and in most cases the best player during his time in Pittsburgh. No offense, B-Mac. But you have a situation, offensively at least, you have a situation with, while Tyrell Williams is a nice receiver, and you have some young pieces in the passing game in Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow. I know B-Mac would probably say this. You put a guy on top of Brown, you put a guy over the top of him, you put somebody underneath. He's going to see more coverage maybe than he's seen, certainly in recent memory, because of what Juju Smith-Schuster had the last couple of years. Emmanuel Sanders was with his running mate, for several years as well. So he had talented guys opposite him. And will Derek Carr throw to him in those contested situations? Because Ben would.
Yeah.
Because he's not afraid to take chances. Derek Carr doesn't necessarily have that same luxury because even though he got paid, he's on a little bit of a shorter leash, given what his long-term expectations are to be with this team.
Brian, I'm worried about the mental aspect as well because, there's probably some truth to what Antonio Brown has said about the helmet, that he really can't see as much as he used to be able to see. What would that do to you? You were there watching those balls come down into either your hands or the receiver's hands. There's not much room to see through those metal bars that he's got in front of his face. Could that get in his head?
No. Antonio's, as far as hands, as far as catching, he's one of the best receivers in the game. I think he could potentially be top 3, top 4 as far as best pass catching wide receivers in the game. I think that was more of a plot, an excuse to be able to get the league to allow him to wear the helmet that he would like to wear. It's about adjusting. We saw Antonio when he was practicing wearing his helmet with some old-fashioned goggles and catching every pass. This is a guy that I've seen, just handle concrete with ease as far as hand placement, being able to grip the end of a brick with ease. So that was an excuse, trying to find a way to make it realistic, like, oh, I have an honest gripe about why I can't wear these new helmets because I can't see. AB need to cut it out. AB, his hand-eye coordination is tops, for real. I understand where he was trying to come from, but cut it out. You can see that little bar is not going to prevent you from catching passes like how you've done your entire career.
No, but his feet might, and that's something that we just have to make sure that he's healthy. And again, go back to the new situation. He has no rapport with Derek Carr. I don't care what Derek Carr says about what they did in the Pro Bowl, that he threw the ball 70 yards, let AB go get it and see what it's going to be like in the regular season. You have to do it in a John Gruden system with all those crazy play calls that Gruden will throw out there. Will Brown be on the same page with Carr from the get-go? They'll get there. I don't have any question about that if they're both healthy. But at what point will they get there? And B-Mac brought up something. First off, the field. For the beginning part of the season, they got to share with the Oakland A's.
Which means playing on dirt.
Which means playing on dirt, which isn't exactly the most ideal situation for somebody with bad feet. And their schedule is brutal with all the games that they have to travel, with the London game as well. It's not the easiest situation for the Raiders. Will all these things factor into a guy not being happy who has shown us that he may not be the happiest when he's not happy with the football situation?
Well, now that he's put the helmet thing behind him, we do have to circle back to the feet because, that's a big issue for me. If I'm a Raiders fan, if I'm somebody
Please
that
don't
wants
show the picture.
Don't put the picture up. Like, how long is that going to take? I've never seen anyone with that kind of injury before, if we call that an injury or whatever happened in the cryogenic chamber. Brian, if you don't have your feet underneath you, I know you talk about his hand-eye coordination, but he's still got to have the feet.
Yeah, no question, especially for a wide receiver, a guy that has been known to be an outstanding route runner. His cuts are so precise and so powerful. I don't know. This is an injury, like you said, Chris, we've never seen this before, so we don't know exactly the rehab time, what he needs to do as far as staying off his feet. Because think about this. If you can't participate in walkthroughs and things like that, 9 times out of 10, you can't really stand an extended period of time without, making this injury worse than what it is. So he could, I don't know what he's doing right now as far as walking around and moving around, but we know he can't run. So the timetable on this injury and what happens, what's the likelihood of AB re-injuring his feet? So this is a very, very new injury, clearly. We will learn like he is learning, just watching him and seeing how he goes about his business. But the turf situation out in Oakland, the travel out in Oakland, not to mention practicing, because AB has always been a guy that has he loves to practice. And having a new offense, a new quarterback, you need to have your superstar player involved in reps throughout practice. Maybe this is a situation where he don't practice throughout the season until he's 100% healthy.
All right, that's Bryant McFadden, who joins us from Jacksonville.